What's up, guys? So another tier list, and this is going to be Handtraps. So to start off with Moonlit Chill, I think Moonlit Chill is actually very good. Just another copy of Veiler, and Veiler's better than you think. And actually, in general, I think Handtraps are actually in a better spot than they were before, just because we're moving towards very efficient kind of one-card combo decks that just stop your opponent doing stuff, and then one-card combo win in terms of advantage. And Handtraps are good in formats like that with mid-range decks that are strong. And the best deck is basically the deck that does that, is Kashtira. One card, they do a bunch of stuff, and then they stop you with Engine and with Handtraps. So I definitely think Handtraps are better. Contact C, very, very good in certain scenarios. That's the biggest problem about it. So it's like, it's good if your opponent doesn't have the out for it. It's good in certain matchups where your opponent's locked, like Branded. But if your opponent does main deck and out to this, then it ends up being helpful to them, which is my biggest issue with it. But still a good card. Ash is S tier because of Branded, just always will be. If Branded is S tier, Ash will be. And then it also hits other things as well. Hits Traptrick Sarah, hits Theosis, just a good card in general. Unfortunately, Phantasmia, I'm going to move it all the way down to D. It just hasn't been relevant for enough time because there's just hasn't been a mainly link focused format for a long time. And I don't know if we ever will get a just link focused format ever again, unless we get some really busted link deck. Dogwood is good just because of time rules, so it's not a bad card. It's, yeah, time rules, it will win you games. I think Gamma, on the other hand, is quite bad. I'm actually going to put Gamma in C tier. My biggest problem with it is that it removes card from your opponent's board, and in this format you don't want your opponent to have an empty board. If they have an empty board, they can even leave. If they're playing Kashtira, they just summon another monster. These things just make it not great. Skullmeister, D tier as well, just not relevant enough. Not enough graveyard effects, I think, that you need to stop specifically with Skullmeister. DD Crow as well, again, there's just not enough things that it does hit. No Material, I think, is actually a lot better this format, and again, it's because I do think against Kashtira and against Sprite, it's actually a pretty good card. No Material has a unique interaction. For example, with a deck like Sprite, they can make Gigantic, and then you hit it with a No Material, and they're not doing much. Like it's quite good just because of that. And again, Kashtira, you put on their first summon, it does hurt them a little bit. So I do think No Material is not a bad card at all. A tier definitely is going to be Lancia. Yeah, I do have some issues with Lancia, but the biggest issue, the biggest thing about it is it will just stun certain cards like Evenly Matched, like Prosperity, all of this, and then it does also hit the Sprite Smashers. It will also hit Branded for like half of the deck. So like, yeah, good card in general. Ghost Ogre I actually think is better than it seems, and a lot of people aren't playing it, but I think Ghost Ogre is pretty good. First in Kashtira, for example, it hits cards like Birth, which is actually very insane because Birth is unbelievably overpowered. You do have to make sure the Kashtira player doesn't have a Rice Heart on board, unfortunately, because this does center the graveyard instead of discarding, if I'm not mistaken. But still a very, very good card. Also hits, what's that Sprite card? Gigantic Sprite as well. Yeah, just generally quite a good card, I think. I think Droll was S tier right now. I think there are a lot of decks that do heavy searching, and this just ends their turn, which is good. There's not many cards that consistently will end a lot of decks' turns, but Droll is definitely one of them. I think Bell as well is S tier just because of Expulsion, again, because of how prevalent Branded is in the meta, and also Labyrinth as well. Ash and Bell are just very, very good this format. They hit a lot of things. Yeah, I think I'll put Miradora though, accident. I think Veiler is definitely going to be kind of a better Moonlit Chill, just a good Handtrap in general. Yeah, it does a lot. Imperm, in my opinion, is actually A tier. I think it's worse than it was before, and the biggest problem is, while Imperm is good, these negations are a lot better in my opinion against the most relevant things. Imperm most of the time is just going to trade 1-for-1, and so it makes it a bit weak as a hand traps. But the best scenarios I find with Imperm is keeping it to my turn and then interrupting something specific, like trying to hit the Arise Heart or something. But like using on, for example, the Kashtira person, I use it on the Unicorn, so often they'll just have an extend that doesn't make a difference, or on Sprite, so often they just have an extend that doesn't make a difference. So that's my problem with Imperm. Like trading 1-for-1 just isn't as good as it used to be, and because of that, it does make the card weaker. Winter Cherries is a lot weaker this format just because we're not in a tier 0 format. So even though it is kind of good, and probably if you could play it, I guess, for mirrors and stuff, but I just don't think it's worth playing anymore. Chaos Hunter's okay, but it's a bit slow, so it's a worse Lancia. The other side frames are trash. Engraved with the Mark is trash. Put Sora Base there, but that's trash as well. I think D Barrier is not good anymore. There's just too many decks that don't care about it, and that's my biggest problem with it. Nibiru is good. You do usually need another card with it, or another way that you can play Nibiru, and one of the things I like doing is treating it almost like a defensive card. So you build your board, and then you kind of put your opponent on this situation where they need to out your board and out Nibiru, and if you do that, it's actually amazing. Yeah, Nibiru is a pretty good card. Definitely says S tier Handtrap. Token Collector, I don't think it's relevant enough, unfortunately. I just don't think there's enough token decks in the format, and even if there are, I don't think you need specifically Token Collectors out them. I don't think it's worth the slots. Yeah, Bestials are low CT. I don't think the Bystials are that good. I think even last format, again, it was mainly just tier that made them seem so oppressive. But even with that, I don't think the Bystials are that good. The Hiding Sea or whatever is terrible. Yeah, it just didn't come up, unfortunately, this format. The Ishizu cards were hit so much that they're just not really relevant hand traps anymore. And Miradora, yeah, it's just a slow card. It's slow, it doesn't really do anything specifically relevant, so I don't think you need to play Miradora. But yeah, guys, that is my hand trap tier list, so thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.